I love the time of year where all the music has come out and you get to look back at the year from above. What trends started this year? What artists took over the industry? Did anyone make a comeback this year? All questions that a retrospective outlook allows you to answer. So how was 2023? Phenomenal. I genuinely believe in terms of albums, 2023 was the best year for EDM in at least the last half decade. I would love to do a mini highlight segment off the top here and talk about all the things that I want to talk about, but that would spoil the fun of trying to guess what's coming next. So without any further ado, I'm Dakota from Bowtied Media, and here are my picks for the top 10 EDM albums of 2023. The more and more that I work on this channel and make an intentional effort to review all that's out there, I've come across an interesting notion when it comes to quality versus popularity of a record. In the same way that most of the movies nominated at the Oscars feel like a different kind of cinema, there are albums out there that aren't relatively popular, but beloved by those that intentionally seek out niche projects. Records that I call critic records. And this first entrant, well, it may not be the most popular one out there, but my goodness, it's better than most. This record is a beautiful melding of raw electronic sounds with classic symphonic instrumentation. As a continuous and lyricless album, led by Ancient Light is an experiential listen, no doubt. The mysterious, intimate tone of this project is further conveyed by how the tracks tend to break into a more explosive soundscape when the storyline calls for it. After years of only releasing EPs, few and far between, 2023 gifted us with KOAN Sound's debut album. A truly polished and complex debut record is a huge undertaking, one that many artists struggle to achieve. But you can tell the intentionality and care that KOAN Sound put into this record. You won't find a shortage of producers trying to meld together classical instrumentation and electronic synths, but not many do it as well as KOAN Sound. There is just an inherent, deep understanding of how music works. It's like you can practically hear the music theory intertwined throughout the album. Space, the final frontier, but also the most common tonal theme for EDM, hands down. Everyone wants to do a space album. Everyone wants to use samples from the Apollo missions. Everyone wants to travel at the speed of light. But you know, I'm not complaining. I more often than not enjoy these themes, but it's hard to really stand out when the listener feels like they've heard it before. But there's one artist I will always go to when I need a cosmic journey. The Notaker debut album is officially here, and it's marvelous. Echoes in Eternity is filled with space-centric electro sound design that is some of his best yet. As a continuous project, Notaker takes us on a journey through time and space, taking stops along the way to question if what we're experiencing is truly real. Notaker's use of bright synth sustains and sparkling keyboard pads really help drive home that space operatic feeling. You've got grand electro house tracks like Rainbow Eyes and Speed of Light that are the core to the record, but Notaker isn't afraid to switch it up with a lighter drum and bass tune, or a pseudo trap song, or even garage. This isn't your run-of-the-mill space album. There's so much more happening at every stop. Notaker undoubtedly was met with high expectations for a debut record. His music had always been so rich in sound design and atmosphere that a full-length project was surely going to be an expansive one. And he didn't disappoint. After listening to him for years, I honestly believe that this is his best work. There are some artist collaborations that just make sense. Throw two individual producers in a studio, lock the door for, I don't know, a month, and you know something good will come out. And sometimes a collaboration works so well that two become one. I'm just shocked it took until 2023 to get to this point. If you didn't already know, KX5 is the united talents of deadmau5 and Kaskade. Two veterans in the EDM, specifically house world. These two have been collaborating for more than a decade. So I guess it's finally time to make something a little bit more set in stone, and that's how we got KX5. This album is a literal dream of longtime EDM fans. Stylistically, it's an electro and progressive house record with a killer lineup of vocal features. Listening to this album transports me back to a time and place where I was just starting to get into EDM. You know, when you first discover something and it all sounds incredible? Well, I got that feeling again with KX5. As a holistic industry, house has sort of lost its way. With the influx of slap house and the push for shorter runtimes, progressive house is no longer the dominant subgenre. So it only feels right for deadmau5 and Kaskade to team up once again and bring us back to our house roots. Long, multi-movement tracks and a strong emphasis on mixed quality makes this one of the best showings from either one of these artists in the last decade. The umbrella category of EDM is one I love so much because you can pretty much fuse it together with anything else, other than country. So why not throw the modern sounds of EDM onto classical orchestral elements? Bring together the sounds of music's humble beginnings and the contemporary production elements of today. And when done right, oh boy. I run them, a secret thing that no one them. Apashe is a force to be reckoned with. His third studio album, Antagonist, is another grand exploration of hybrid trap and orchestral sound design. With a touch of garage and drum step throughout this record, this LP is both new territory for Apashe, as well as right within his wheelhouse. It's hard to say if this is his best work or not, but regardless, it's awfully close. But why stop at just combining two genres in orchestral and EDM? Let's throw in a third with some hip-hop in there as well. Littered throughout this LP are copious amounts of rap features, and all of them slap. Whether it's Busta Rhymes, Wasio, or Joey Valance and Bray, each set of rappers bring their own heat to an already lit-up backing track. The intricate dance around the vocal features, string sections, horn chants, and trap elements is not something that should be taken for granted. Apashe has been working on his craft for years now, and his tenure really shows. Okay, I'm just gonna say it, Skrillex. It's hard to talk about 2023 without mentioning him. Dropping 2 albums early into the year, the impact Skrillex would have on the rest of the year was so evident in hindsight. The UK bass, dubstep, trap, bass house fusion that was Skrillex's sound embedded itself deep into the EDM ecosystem. In fact, it's so impactful that entire albums released in the same year took heavy inspiration from that sound. And they were pretty damn good themselves. ISOxo's debut project is exactly what we've been waiting for. A perfect blend of hybrid trap and underground tones, Kids Gone Mad is a marvelous record with banger after banger. This project is truly a testament to the impact that Skrillex has had on 2023. While I wouldn't go as far as to say that this is better than Quest for Fire, it's awfully close. If this is the new generation of trap music, we might be coming into a new golden age very soon here. Kids Gone Mad is a no-nonsense blast of sound from start to finish. While yes, ISO predominantly centers the tracks around a trap style, he also bounces around some bass house, drum and bass, and hardstyle to really round out the album. With various IDs and rumors spreading about an ISO and Skrillex collab, it looks to me like the two had a bit of a quasi-mentorship going on with Skrill at the helm. If anything, I'm just more excited for what we've got in store in 2024 with ISO at this point. But 2023 catapulted him into the limelight, and now it's time to show us what he's really made of. With hundreds of subgenres out there and more being made all the time, oftentimes an artist will become synonymous with a particular subgenre. Whether that's because they've pioneered it themselves or brought it into the EDM ecosystem, it's definitely a special thing to be closely tied to a particular subgenre. And well, with how popular color bass has become these last few years, it was only a matter of time before we got an album from the color bass king. Coining the term himself, color bass and Chime go hand in hand. After creating the Rushdown label back in 2016, the continual push for color bass has been rising and rising and rising until this record truly brought it into the popular lexicon. This is the debut album from not only Chime, but color bass as a whole. Aetherborne will go down as one of the best dubstep albums of this decade. As a continuously flowing record, Chime takes the listener on a journey through digital space. The mixing is top-notch, the sound design is fresh, and it's all wrapped in a style brought to life by Chime himself. This is the future of dubstep. This is the future of melodic. Part of what makes this record so unique, though, is that it's also a bit of a concept album. As you listen through the track list, you take the place of the protagonists as they find themselves trapped in a game of sorts. Running through levels of various themes, you try to escape this living dream, only to find that you've become the grand Chime yourself. And the process repeats all over again. It's a unique concept that is rich in lore that you can easily get lost in. One of those records that you just play over and over again and you still discover something new with each listen. When it comes to melodic dubstep for the modern EDM listener, there are often two major categories. You've got your nicher melodic sounds like a chime or a skybreak, a style that focuses on a truly emotive tone and synth licks for a unique listening experience. And then you've got your commercial melodic dubstep from the likes of an Illenium or Griffin, a style that's main purpose is to reach a wide audience as much as possible. Both styles have their pros and cons, but rarely has anyone attempted to bridge that gap. Until now. To an average person, Skrillex may be the name that they most closely associate with dubstep, but for real EDM enjoyers, dubstep has been dominated over the last decade by AU5. With an abundance of records already under his belt, AU5 had the niche melodic dubstep on lock. Album after album, year after year, he was pumping out the best melodic dubstep we've ever heard. But it was finally time for AU5 to bridge the niche and commercial gap with the aptly named album Bridges Between. This may very well be AU5's best yet. His production quality and sound design have yet to be challenged as he continually puts out the best melodic dubstep in the industry. This is the melodic dubstep lover's dream LP. It may not be the flashiest of projects, but my goodness, it will be impossible for anyone to top this. With brighter synth licks and more vocal forward tracks, AU5 is doing his best to bring all those commercial lovers deep into the world of melodic dubstep. It's honestly so impressive that he managed to keep his core identity intact all through these 10 tracks, while also making a more approachable record for new listeners. A master at his craft. Honestly, I don't know how to intro this next one without spoiling anything. You know it's here, you just don't know how high it's gonna be. Here it is, go nuts.
Run for them life. When I step into the jungle, say they would not group up. They better move up.
Our EDM savior is back and with a vengeance. Practically owning all of EDM in 2023, Skrillex dropped 2 records on back-to-back days in February, and the industry just hasn't been the same since. If this list was purely based off of cultural impact, this would be #1 hands down. With his second solo studio album and 9 years after Recess, Quest for Fire was everything we were waiting for. Almost completely ditching his iconic dubstep soundscape, Skrillex brings forth a brand new style of production that feels indescribable, but I'm gonna try. A mixture of hybrid trap, dubstep, bass house, UK garage, grime. Like, what even is this record? And then to drop another album the next day, the man had a machine gun of ammo he just needed to unload. Quest for Fire is undoubtedly Skrillex's most put together, intentionally crafted, straight up best record to date. Teetering the lines of so many genres and tones, Skrillex has taken what's already worked in industry and fine-tuned it to create his own new soundscape. While foundationally a bass house and hybrid trap record, Skrillex found a way to give the EDM community what they wanted while appeasing the commercial listener as well. No longer is Skrillex the dubstep guy that sounds like robots having sex. He's proven his longevity and creative production. Now let's just hope we don't have to wait another 9 years for something else. And what was that tweet, Skrill? What else are you cooking? We want to hear it. In my 4 years of doing Bowtied Media, I've made a real intentional effort to find and listen to as many artists as I can. But what that's coincidentally done is prevented me from experiencing a brand new artist with a massive discography. Gone are the days where I hadn't heard of Daft Punk or Avicii or Skrillex and been able to binge a whole discography like that. The giddiness I would encounter when finding a new artist I love just isn't the same anymore. But you know, I don't have my eyes on every artist out there, that's just sort of impossible. Every now and then an artist does slip through the cracks, but often I don't get that same giddiness I once did. I guess I just needed to travel to London to find it. Jason Status are a primarily drum and bass duo that seemingly crossed the Atlantic this year, finally hitting the airwaves of North America. And my goodness, I'm almost pissed that I hadn't heard of them until this year. They've been in the game for 2 decades and only now in 2023 am I discovering them. But I mean, let's not dwell on the past and enjoy with what we have now. From front to back, this record is incredibly consistent in tone, quality, and pacing. And that pacing, it's just gas. At just over 30 minutes in length, RUFF Volume 1 seemingly never hits the brakes. Banger after banger, Chase and Status dip and dive through every subgenre of D&B one can think of. This This mixtape has become a turning point in the career of Chase and Status. It's hard to truly state the impact that this record has had on UK drum and bass. Their sound has never been this refined, this clean, this intentional, this hard, this rough. The UK hip-hop infused D&B hits harder than ever before, and especially in an era where the industry is just craving that exact sound. This is truly a career-defining project. Now to find out how rough they truly get with further installments. It's time for our honorable mentions list. Obviously, I can only talk about 10 albums for a top 10 video, but here are some other records worth highlighting.
That's more like it.
Okay, what could possibly be number 1 at this point? Chime's debut album? Number 5. Skrillex's return? Number 3. Deadmau5 and Cascade teaming up? Only number 8. What could possibly top those projects? Well, an underdog of sorts. I've had my eye on a particular artist for some time, but honestly didn't think of them as anything too special. So going into this project, I was anticipating a solid, serviceable album. Oh, but boy, I was wrong. It was so much more. Individually, the tracks on this album are absolute fire. But when listening to this project holistically, it's just that much better. The track list is crafted in such a way that each track builds upon the energy of its predecessor to culminate into one giant unit. Human has some of the best underground production I have heard in a long time. It's electric, it's destructive, it's heart-pounding, and in the end, it's pieced together with some intentionality that you just feel really satisfied at the end. Nitepunk's Human was a dark horse for this year's number 1 album. Primarily playing within a breakbeat and trap soundscape, I didn't think there was a shot I was going to love this as much as I did. I literally cannot describe how often I listen to this whole album and just straight up front to back. Seldom are there records that I just hit play and soak. But damn, this was good every single time. What makes this record special to me though is that Nitepunk is constantly playing around a third act. The first hits hard, the second hits harder, but then he pulls back a little bit, giving you a false sense of completeness, only to bring it back for a third and final act. A majority of the tracks here follow this structure, whereas the last 30 seconds are reserved for this explosive final movement. But not only that, the track list itself works in this manner. The front 10 tracks are no-nonsense hardcore breaks and trap tracks that go off. But acting as the interlude, the 11th track, Move Ahead, transitions the record into an inverted final act, whereas the final 4 tracks are colorful, thought-provoking, slower, and more intimate. This is how you do a better album than anyone else. Do what no one else is doing. My goodness, what a year 2023 has been for albums. The stuff has been absolutely phenomenal. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Was this list right? Was this list wrong? Let me know what should have been on the list, maybe what should have been off the list. I'd love to hear any and all in those comment sections below. But other than that, I'm Dakota from Bowtied Media, and I'll see you guys in another video.